So really the Sunday reset for me is, how am I going to take care of my mind, my body, and my spirit tangibly, and planning it out on the calendar? Because we all know as moms, if it is not in the calendar, guess what? It ain't happening.
Welcome to the Experience Miracles podcast, where we help parents find hope, answers, and drug-free help to overcome your child's chronic health challenges. I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be sharing my experiences as both a dad and a doctor on every episode. I can take the latest science and neurology of healing and break it down in the most simple and relatable way possible. We'll take on the toughest topics and answer your biggest questions through interviews with other amazing parents and leading experts, leaving you with practical action steps that you can take to help your child heal and thrive. It's time to expect and experience miracles. Let's get started. All right, parents, this episode is for you. Moms, this episode is especially for you. I get to interview here on this one Miss Heather Brown, a podcaster, ebook author, course creator, fitness enthusiast, former ballet instructor, I think I said that right, health junkie, and business owner. And she is just incredible. I got to meet her at one of our leaders events down in Nashville, which is a bunch of natural health rock stars and gurus like Dr. Josh Axe and many others who put this group together. They all seem to live in Nashville and Franklin, Tennessee these days. And I got to meet Heather, and her energy was absolutely it just sticks to you. And you just want to take our energy and spread it to the world and serve other families and moms and parents and kids with it. So that's what we're doing on this podcast episode. I promise you this, especially moms, it's going to be a nice kind of change of pace in our episode cycle, because forever forward, we will continue to be that voice of hope and answers and drug-free healing through you for your kiddos. But I promise you this, and that's the entire design of this episode, and we'll keep bringing ones like this to you. We will not forget about you as much as we possibly can. And remember, it's hard for us parents to do this, which is why this whole episode is about doing exactly that. We're going to put ourselves first. So we're going to look at our health and our well-being and our energy, and just really focus on that, because it's a huge, absolutely essential part of getting our kids and our entire family healthy as well. So Heather is a valued, positive voice to women in this world, especially those that want to go after all of it, that want to be healthy, want to have that energy, want to have incredible relationships with God, with their kids, with their spouse. And so the Healthy by Heather Brown community and everything you'll see linked in the show notes with her Instagram and her online digital presence is just so going to serve you so well. We get into not only the big picture of how to get this done, taking care of ourselves as well, but what I love about this interview you're about to listen to with Heather is we actually get really detailed. We get really strategic. We get really granular. We talk about building one of my favorite things in the world, which is an ideal weekly calendar, and where we can look at that and go, hey, I know I've got a lot going on, but I'm going to stay healthy. I'm going to stay present. I'm going to go into this with a plan, and we're going to help you build exactly that for you, moms and dads, so that, yes, your kids are going to experience and learn all about health and well-being as well. But let's not forget about us for once. So lean in, grab your notebook, especially once we get into the thick of this and towards the end of this. Again, we get very strategic, so you're going to learn a ton that I promise is going to serve you very well, especially moms and dads as parents on this episode. Lean in, listen in, you're going to love it. And as always, please share this with other moms, other parents, other families that you know need to hear this exact podcast and this content. We love you for constantly not only subscribing and leaving a review, but sharing it on Instagram, sharing it on Facebook groups and in your group chats. Thank you for doing that. Please keep doing that. We have a big mission to serve as many moms, dads, kids, and families as possible with this podcast. So lean in, tune in. Here we go. Mrs. Heather Brown, I am not going to do that thing that people do where they try and emulate other people's accents. When I go to the South, I want to do it so badly, but I don't, because I can't even get there. When I go to Europe and go to England, I can't do it. So it just is more embarrassing for me. But I love everything about you. You are such a just hope-dealing, love and health-building rock star woman in every way. And all of our listeners are going to get to experience that about today. But then you throw in that accent you have, which is pretty cool. We're on a podcast. And I don't know, bud. I just think you got a cheat code. I just think you got an advantage that us, boring folks up here in the Midwest don't have. So we'll start off with that.
I love it so much, Tony.
you love it, but you did this to me a little bit when I got to come on to your amazing podcast, which we'll talk about, which is we're going to set the stage for you and who you are and what you do with, I think, a really cool 1000% God-directed story that just happened in my life over the last 4 hours getting ready to get on here and record this with you. In our practice, we take care of really, really, really stressed, struggling. That's who typically comes in first. This podcast in its design is designed to reach out to moms and dads and moms especially, that's the majority of our listenership, and have that conversation. Here's how we help your kiddos. And I love that. That will forever be the tip of our spear of service and what God called us to do. But in that, literally right smack in that, are stressed out, worn out moms. And just this morning, we have this fun kind of internal thing we do at the practice that we don't really hide, but we also don't push it out front until we know that moms are ready for it, which is what I want to really get your help figuring out today. But there's always a moment in time where I just find myself entering the conversation when one of our pediatric patients is getting better, and I'm just looking at mom, and I just I say finally, I did this on like the third visit with this mom this morning, and I just got done answering all of her questions about her kiddo. And then I just turned my attention and my heart to her, and I said, hey, can I ask you a few questions that I haven't asked you yet? And I just got into the conversation about how much she's gone through that traumatic birth and the stressful things that the conversation brings. And it's so exciting to me, because it's such a difference maker for the whole family when mom and dad put their health into the plan as well. And they put themselves, with this healing agenda. And I think that is your specialty. That is your passion. Dare I say that is your obsession, right?
For sure.
So if we go back and let's actually go back a little bit. So I know that the second question is going to be the one that really gets there, but I want to just start with honestly a huge 30,000 foot view of why is that so hard for moms and parents to do? And let's just go ahead and fry that big one first. And then we're going to get back into your story and continue to get into the strategies and the things that we can do to help moms out here.
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, hi, y'all. I feel like after that introduction, I need to say y'all. Throw that in there. I will. But man, Tony, you're just the best. And I'm super, super grateful to be on your podcast today. I met Tony in Nashville, and I mean, we just clicked right away. And I'm so thankful to have had the just pure joy of having you on my podcast as well. And I'm amped to be here with these parents today. And I warned Tony about this a little bit before he hit the record button, but I just dropped off my kindergartner yesterday for the first time at a big school. And we were talking about how he just dropped off his high schooler. So we both have kind of been through these big parenting milestone moments. And man, I'm really going to try not to cry, but my emotions are just so raw during all that right now. And I think that so many moms will relate to that. But man, I mean, let's just talk about that. I mean, you think about what moms go through from even just day one through even now I'm watching some of my closest girlfriends who have just dropped their kids off at college, and they're talking about just, I mean, honestly, the grief that you go through in so many different stages of motherhood. For me, it's that, and we'll talk about this more later, but I really struggle with postpartum depression. I had a 4th degree tear and all these things. So it's almost like you start motherhood, if you have a rough birth, with this grief of, man, my life isn't what it was before. And what does it look like? And how do I reconcile all these differences? And then it goes to now, you've gotten through preschool and you've gotten through the diapers and all those things. And now I'm like, okay, Lord, I am now grieving that I just dropped off my little sidekick that was with me at least 3 days a week, all day long, went to the gym with me every day. And Tony, I actually made it to dropping him off at school. And I was like, man, I'm doing good. I kind of teared up, but he didn't see it and I'm great. And I walked into the gym And my gym has childcare included in it. It's a large part of the reason I started that gym. And Tony, my trainer, who used to give Finn a huge high five every morning when he walked in the door with me, she goes, "Oh, where's Finn?" And I mean, I just whoosh, like waterworks. That was it. I had to walk out of the workout. Like I had to go gather myself. And an older, wiser mom just like hugged me up so big. And she said, "Heather, baby, this is normal. Like this is so healthy because you are preparing your kid for success. You're giving his light into the world that you know, are building in your home." And she was like, "But it's okay to grieve the fact that you're never going to get those years of him in your home back. Like that's okay. That's healthy." But I even think about how for myself, you know, I always try to talk about my non-negotiables, but parents that go through it in back to school, the end of school year, you know, Christmas, the birthday planning, all the like big moments that we have all throughout the year, it gets so busy and it gets so easy to just lose yourself in it. And I'm so grateful that, I mean, for people like you and me, we have the Lord as our anchor that brings us back to who we are and like why we do what we do every day. But man, it is easy to let go of your health to say the least, because you're like, I just want to soak up every moment. And like my kid's going here and there and you're running around like a crazy person. So I don't know if I even answered your question.
Yeah,
what you wanted.
you did. Oh my goodness, you did. And we're both in that frame, which, you know, God knows exactly what he's doing. So the timing of the recording of this podcast is perfect because we will, you know, sometimes you can have this plan and then God, oftentimes you can have this plan and then God's like, "Nice one. That's cute. That's funny.
Cute.
Did you put that in Google Documents? You know, just send that out via Slack." Actually, I did, you know, and then God's like, "I don't use Google Documents," you know, and so he's the ultimate AI. So anyways, that happened to us right now. I mean, even for school drop off this morning, you know, I'm a dude and I at least pretend what we do is we pretend to have our stuff together. That just seems right to us, right? So
sure.
I was all good. I walk him in. Oliver's girlfriend is even going to this school. They walk in and I'm telling you, I was good. I am pretty sure I would have gotten in the truck and just been good and gone with my day. Excited and like a really good emotion, but I had no plans of crying. And then right down the sidewalk. So our office manager and everybody listening to the podcast, if you scroll back up, I can't remember what number Jackie is, but we interviewed Jackie here on the podcast. She is our chief heart officer at the practice at PX Docs. She's all over this podcast and platform. And her son, Logan, is the reason she's part of our team. When he started to care with us, he was 1000% locked into autism and struggling mightily. So he was never supposed to go to mainstream school. And as soon as I turn around from Oliver going in the door, I turn to my right to head back to the truck. And there's this 6-foot blonde hair. And you know how high school boys' haircuts are like today. It's like an alpaca, right? You know, they shave everything else except that. It's funny. I saw that on a meme on Instagram. And even though we're on a podcast, you can all think of it right now, right? You got the image. And they all have the same haircut. And so Logan's looking good, private school, Catholic school, you know, shirts tucked in, striding. I can't say anything other than strolling confidently down the sidewalk. He bro hugs me, daps me up, which is, you know, that's life when you're a bro. And he rolls into that school full of confidence like crazy. And I think because he's not my kid, but he's part of my family, right? He's part of the family that God put together. Logan derailed. And then I saw Jackie. And then Jackie saw that God had me on the sidewalk at the time that he's walking into school that he wasn't supposed to do. And we all just lost it.
That's good. That is so good. Wow.
So you said there, though, let's pull on it. And these stories are going to give context to parents so stories are going to give context to strategies. And we each need strategies because otherwise all these different stories for our kids in this life are going to pull us in 1,000 directions and we're never going to live our story and our health full out. So you said the word, and I love it. That's literally the words we use in our household. Non-negotiables. So let's actually take you back in time with your story before kids. So we were talking about that before recording too. Like if we only knew what we were, you know, these experiences in college and our early career, what they were really preparing us for, we would have had a different appreciation for them. So fitness, health. You know, we talked about that in your bio and the intro, but how did that set the stage for what perhaps your non-negotiables are today? And I'm going to ask two questions of your timeline together, and then you just run with it. So you had that obsession with fitness and health ahead of time. That's a huge part of your life. Then the babies, then the kiddos, then the traumatic birth, then the tear, and it took that away for a season, right? It took one of your, if not your foremost thing away, and that's a health thing. So what did you do to get it back? What was the process of getting it back? And how do you use your story to really empower and share that hope and the strategies for other moms to really focus on their health and well-being, even after, you know, traumatic experiences and all that life brings out?
Yeah, for sure. So I will say that this is slightly graphic, and I'm sure, Dr. Tony, you probably have some men that tune in. So I'm so sorry in advance to the men.
Our expertise is birth trauma, buddy. So this podcast will talk about birth trauma in all of its detail more than any other podcast out there. So hold back nothing. Please.
Okay, wonderful. So here we go. So my husband and I met in college, and we got married. We were fortunate enough that since we did get married so young, he actually was miserable in his former life as an accountant, but he did get a ton of Hilton points. So we got to travel the world. We got to really live it up for 7 years before we had kids. And I taught Pure Barre, which is a ballet bar based workout. If you're not familiar. And I mean, flippin' loved it. Like I would go to my marketing job every day and people call me the Energizer Bunny. Like I really am just like, that's how God made me. I can't help it. I kind of wish that I sometimes wasn't, but he taught me how to slow down through my kids. But anyway, all that to say, I taught Pure Barre. I thought I was a pretty big rock star at it. I was. And then, you know, I'm just like living, rocking life. I'm doing this blogging and Instagram thing on the side and just feeling really confident, get pregnant. All is going great, healthy pregnancy, so on and so forth. And I'm like, man, and this is so crazy. You look back at yourself and you're like, again, LOL, that you have birth plans. I think that's so hilarious in hindsight that you literally with the hospital design a birth plan as if God doesn't have complete control of it. Anyway, so I have the baby. Literally, Tony, the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. I don't know how many things went wrong, but it was just bad. I had to get oxygen on. The baby's heart rate was dropping. I pushed and pushed and pushed. Nothing was happening. And I just was like, if I am fit and I work out all the time and then I am this out of breath and struggling this much, how do people that don't exercise have babies? My mind was just blown through the whole process, to be honest with you. I have the baby. He does come out. You have that just endorphin high, incredible moment. You're crying. My doctor's praying over the baby and me. My husband and I are in this euphoria. It's amazing. And then my doctor was like, okay, well, I'm going to start sewing you back up. And I was kind of like, okay, I'm sure this happens all the time. She goes, you actually have a 4th degree tear, as she's, sewing. This is the worst tear you can have. It is all the way from the front to the back. I'm like, okay, okay. And then she keeps sewing. She's like, just so you know, and it's so nonchalant for her, you're not going to walk past your mailbox for about the first 6 weeks. Oh. And I was kind of like, but you're crying, you're in pain, you're exhausted. So I was kind of just like, okay, as I'm trying to get my baby to latch, all the things. And the full weight of it doesn't really hit me at that point, but I'm kind of okay, I'll process that later. So have Layton, have the 4th degree tear. We have all kinds of breastfeeding complications. I'm at home and I'm like, I just want to be able to move my body. If I move my body, I know I can regulate my stress. I know I can feel better. Well, guess what? That's been stripped away from me. And that is one of the biggest things that God taught me through all this is that, and I think everyone has their own sin struggle. That's the thing that constantly tries to pull you back. This is still a sin struggle of mine. But at this point, I didn't even know it was one, was that I essentially idolized exercise.
Yeah.
I think I found my identity in being this teacher. I think I found my coping mechanisms instead of being running to the Lord. It was that I was running to that endorphin high and running to get to the gym, getting that community, which are all great things until you put it above the Lord. And so that was all really, really difficult. And I mean, then I started crying every day, just, multiple times a day, not sleeping, all the things that moms, I know you relate to. And eventually I went in for the 2-week checkup appointment, because when you have a 4th degree tear, you have a 2-week appointment instead of a 6-week checkup. And she was like, well, how are you doing, Heather? And she actually was a Pure Barre client of mine. And so I was like, just kind of shooting the breeze with her. And I said, well, I think I just want to know when I'm going to feel like myself again. To which she then said, okay, well, that's actually a sign of depression. And so we're going to put you on antidepressants. And I, again, was just kind of like, whoa, wait, what? Like, what's happening? So everything just kind of spiraled so fast where I just felt like I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't get to be the Energizer Bunny. I don't get to work out to handle my stress. Now I'm being put on antidepressants. Like, I didn't even know I was depressed. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get back to work or get back to workouts, or when I'm going to feel like I even know who I am, feel like me again. And so I started the antidepressants, and in hindsight, again, hindsight's 2020. I've learned so much in my health journey since then, but I got on them because that's what my doctor said to do. And honestly, praise the Lord. Thank you, Lord, that he did allow me. I only took the 1 round that she gave me, and I just got off. Like, you're not supposed to do that. So like, y'all, if you're listening to this, I did it wrong.
This is not, we are not. Yeah, totally. Absolutely. But hey, this is more important than more than anything, on the side of a box is real life application of these things. So keep going.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes. So long story short, I did get off, and I'm so thankful the Lord protected me from my own stupidity, and I was fine. And I, kind of started to be like, okay, I know I'm going to be at home. I know I can't move much. I know all these things. So then in my mind, I'm kind of like, again, because we're humans, like, I'm like, where can I get my control? Where can I find my control? And I actually think that this was such a gift to me. The Lord kind of was just like, okay, Heather, like, you know how to meal plan, because I worked at a meal planning company. It's emeals.com, one of the biggest meal planning companies in our country. And I did marketing and blogging, all these kind of things for them. I just started meal planning. And that was kind of like the one thing that I felt like I could be like, okay, I can be productive for my family. On Sundays, I can sit down and still feel like I'm contributing to my husband and like feeling needed in some way. And so honestly, Tony, I feel like meal planning kind of became the cornerstone of what is now my Sunday reset and the non-negotiables. Yeah. But at the time, I just thought like I'm checking the box of meal planning. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes perfect sense, because this is how I interpret this is that's exactly what happens when we have these major life moments. And let's be honest, that, let's take every single birth story and we'll go from the 2 extremes, and then that'll include everything in between. Our first 2 babies, was actually where my Addison's birth, pregnancy, it all went, unbelievably wonderfully. It kind of actually did go according to plan, like optimal, incredible plan. And it was so good. The goodness of it was the inspiration. A lot of people think I got my start as a pediatric chiropractor with Oliver's story. God gave me my nitrous boost. Think like Fast and the Furious right now with Vin Diesel and Ja Rule, in the car, and they're going fast already, and then they hit the nitrous thing. If you've never seen that movie, I'm sorry, but it fits here right now. And so like that was actually my like boom, full speed. But anyways, the first birth, so wonderful. So imagine birth, transition into motherhood, into being a parent out there. It is, even when it goes literally according to the plan and it's wonderful, it is still absolutely a massive, dramatic, there's no word in the English dictionary to say how big of a shift in your life it is. Everything that, really, really, really mattered before, guess what? It moves down the pecking order right quick, right? Sure. And you could think you know it's coming and you got no clue it's coming. And then you go to the extreme. You go to the traumatic births. And that's actually why I was so excited right here, this moment, to have you on this podcast, because we want to tell the story of moms on this podcast so much too. And when we say traumatic birth, we know exactly what we're talking about. And we tend to take the conversation 90% of the time to the baby's brainstem and the vagus nerve and the stuff, you know, I nerded out on your podcast about, because that's what God has said. Hey, you guys know about this stuff. The rest of the world doesn't. So don't shut up about it. Make more content than anybody else. But I will be honest with you right now. I stress all the time. I worry all the time. And I'm not a worrier. You know how much it takes me to worry? It's a lot. And I worry all the time that we're not having this conversation to moms, for moms, about moms in this journey with traumatic birth as well, because they are literally connected neurologically and everything in between from that. So non-negotiables, what I love, and I think about this as parents, like we have our must do things. Like how many moms out there listening right now? We'll just roll through a list, right? Yours was pure barre, right? How many moms it's running? Like they think right now, if I don't get my run in today, I'm as good as dead. Like I'm going to be as dramatic as I can be for the point of emphasis here. Like if I don't get my run in, I'm completely useless to the world. I'm not productive. I'm not healthy. I'm a massive failure. We all do this, by the way, right? And how many moms and parents go to CrossFit and do this or go to yoga and do this? Now, there is so many healthy things, but we need to rewind here, Heather, and I need you to pull on this. When it's only maybe one thing, two things, and it's something that could be, we got to think about this, not in a doomsday way, but we got to think ahead. Actually, I'm reading that book right now by Pastor Craig Groeschel. We just got back from Willer's leadership conference. Amazing. Ooh. And we got to plan ahead and say, okay, well, what if that's not there? Where would we find our sense of control? Where would we find our sense of productivity? That was another word you used there. And the truth is, as parents, we are the most productive creatures on earth. I think that's a synonymous word, right? Parenting requires ultra productivity. And so when it's taken away, because your health is taken away, we've got to have a multitude of things that we can turn to that can continue to show us our significance, continue to show us our impact and our productivity. Because I'll tell you, when it comes to your kiddo's healing journey, there is no one more important than that mom. There isn't. And dad, I'm not leaving you out of this, right? When we get together as parents and we put our health as a priority and we are healing through a healing journey if that needs to happen, and we are proactively pursuing health to show that to our kiddos, that is the catalyst. We call it, I don't know why I use this term, but in our practice, we call it the cheat code. If we ever hit a tough spot with a kiddo and we literally are not getting them to heal, even though we look at the case and we're like, everything is going right. Like the adjustments are working. This is working. Like the plan is what the plan should be, but we're at a stuck point. It's always just mom and dad are exhausted and they're not healing. And there's that emotional connection between all of us. And so that's the catalyst. That's the cheat code that will actually get the child to heal, is when moms put themselves first. So back to that story and going forward. So meal planning on Sundays, you found that identity, you found that productivity, you found that spark. Where did that spark, what did that build into that now gets you to the triple threat triangle? I mean, you have some gold content for how you speak to it with real life implementation for parents out there. So did that start to bore out of that season?
Yes, it really did. And it's so wild because I feel like the Lord, like I had to get to that point before the Lord could really even like make it come out in my life. I think that one of the biggest things that I learned with the meal planning was it's like we as women think like, oh, I'm just planning the meals, like check, done, move on. But actually what I found out that I was doing when I was meal planning that made it so impactful for our family and is now a part of our Sunday reset is what I call it. But honestly, when you hear that, I want you to think about, it can be the Monday reset or the Saturday reset or whatever day works the best for you guys when you're hearing this. But ultimately what I've determined is that at the end of the day, if I don't take care of Heather, I can't be the best mom for Leighton and Finn, and I can't be the best wife for Eric. I can't be the best daughter for my parents. I can't be the best anybody if I don't take care of me. And I think that a lot of times we think about taking care of ourselves as like, oh, I got a pedicure, or, oh, I got a facial. But it's like, really, what are you doing that is going to impact your soul and make you from the inside out feel whole? And to me, that means mind, body, and spirit health. And I always tell my clients that are in my membership, you can go to the gym every single day, and if you don't ever open your Bible, or you don't ever pray, or you don't ever do the things like getting outside or that are taking care of your mental, emotional, and spiritual health, you're still going to come up empty. And that's what I came up empty, because I just thought that, yeah, I'm a Christian, but if I don't get to the gym, like, why is it going to kill me? Like there was such a war there internally. And then on the other foot, I know so many women, especially in the Southern Baptist community, where it's like, you're going to be there at that church every time the door is open. You're going to be there on Sunday. You're going to be there on Wednesday night. You're in your small group. You're on all the committees. But you never, sister, take care of your body. And you never take care of your emotional health. And you're giving and you're giving and you're giving to that church, which is incredible until it's not. Because now, if you haven't read the book, The Best Yes by Lisa TerKeurst, God, that hit me right in the heart, because if I am giving my yes to every member of the church, but then falling short and putting in the time and the effort and the time with the Lord that Heather needs to be the best for my family, really I failed in my calling, because I'm putting people pleasing in this like kingdom seat of where God should be. And it's a really, really eye-opening like sin discovery for me that I struggle with. So ultimately what I encourage women to do is to sit down on their Sunday reset and to like first be still. Like it's a 10-minute thing, which it's like, it sounds so small, but actually it's really huge when you sit there without your phone for 10 minutes. You're like, whoa, this is actually a long time.
I'm gonna bring back a reference here in a second around HRV. Anybody listening, they know we use this technology, so heart rate variability. If you wear a Whoop, you wear an Apple Watch, you wear something like that, you actually have this Oura Ring, you have this here. So in order to get a scan, an HRV scan in our office, you have to sit still for 5 minutes. That's where the technology originally came from. Did you know we needed to, not just for kids, we needed to call the manufacturer and the company that makes it a few years ago and ask them if they could give us a 1 minute, 2 minute, and 3 minute capture. Because moms, I'm going to throw y'all under the bus right now here. Okay. Yeah. Moms can't sit still for 3 minutes because this thing, it's your finger. You have to sit there and it holds and you can't move. You're supposed to just sit and chill for 3 minutes. And then it's actually measuring heart rate. We can actually graph it. Yeah. You can see like 37 seconds in max where they start to get uncomfortable, right? Yeah. They start to move. It's called artifact in the HRV finding. And it's absolutely wild how hard. So that's why I love you're starting with this, because this is actually a hard thing. You said it right there. And that's why I'm double tapping on it. It's so simple to say verbally on this podcast until you try your first 10 minutes. And you move at the speed of light in 87 directions all week long. And then your Sunday reset comes. But man, oh man, when you take this on and you can get to 3 minutes and then 5 minutes and then 10 minutes, the amount of health and resilience and neurological health and soul filling that this fills up. I can't wait to hear what you're going to say after this. But if y'all just did this, I know who. Do you know how bad I threw? It was convenient for me to throw moms under the bus.
Yeah,
right?
it was.
I'm the Energizer Bunny, right? Like I am the suckiest person in history at sitting still, which is why I really want to go to a Southern Baptist church. But we'll come back to that later on. So I feel like
we'll get there later.
Yeah, they bring the noise like I like. Okay, all right.
So we're sitting down. Yep. Being still and no phone. And I'm really just starting to be present in my body and just being like, okay, I'm going to take some deep breaths. And I think that we often think that we can't pray when we're being still, but you can. To me, that's like the most powerful thing is I'm sitting there still, either outside. I love sitting on my screened-in porch. You could sit outside, wherever you feel comfortable, and you're going to be able to just unplug. You're essentially just going to start praying or journaling if that actually helps you to move your hands or body and like get the prayer out. Sometimes I need to do that, where I'm just saying, Lord, help me look back at next week. What went really well? What did I really struggle in? Are there blind spots that I'm not seeing in my sin life, in my prayer life, in my just thought life? What was I not grateful last week? Did I overbook my calendar? Did the meal plan go well? Did it not? Lord, did I serve you in a way that was what you had intended for me? And if not, what were those, I guess, roadblocks that I ran into? Lord, help me to see those. And I'm journaling, I'm thinking, I'm praying. And then I'm saying, okay, Lord, like, I feel like, now I'm seeing some of these maybe issues before that I didn't realize were there. How can I change this upcoming week? Did I actually get too selfish last week because I was barreling at 99 miles per hour for back to school? Okay, well then how can I make my life look more others focused next week? And so to me, it's that first 10 minutes where you're unplugging to actually plug back in to your creator and seeing what he has for you, because women and men as well often struggle, especially I feel like in their 30s, 40s, 50s, with what is my purpose in life? Like, am I where I need to be? But guess what? God's called you first and foremost to love God and love others. So if you're doing that, that is his calling. That's his purpose on your life. And if you don't know what that tangible step is to do, you're not going to get anywhere unless you move. So you got to start texting people. You got to start calling people. You got to start encouraging people. And then I guarantee you, he's probably going to lay out the steps for you to start moving to do. And then I'm basically being like, okay, what does my schedule look like this week? Am I communicating with my husband? When is he on call for the hospital this week? So that night, do we actually need to make it a Chick-fil-A night? I think people start to cringe when they hear Chick-fil-A or excuse me, meal planning, because they're like, oh, so I can't ever run through the drive-through. But it's like, no, actually, you can pencil that in. It's just planning your meals. It can be Chick-fil-A, like
Chipotle,
yeah, whatever
Chick-fil-A. They both start with C and they both rhyme. That's that's the double down right there.
So, and then just kind of running through, what do I need this week for my meal plan? And that's then opening up the line of communications with my kids, with my family, figuring out the busiest nights, the slowest nights. Is there something we wanted to do as a family for a while that we haven't had time to, that I can now be intentional about plugging into my calendar? Like, this is so silly, but one thing for us we like to do is every few weeks we like to go to our pool at night and have a pizza night at the pool. Can we plug in that pizza at the pool night one night this week? When is your Bible study? And is your Bible study, is it coming to an end? Do you need to buy a new book to start the next Bible study? Do you need to get plugged back into your church, figure out what you're going to do to be spiritually accountable? So really the Sunday reset for me is, how am I going to take care of my mind, my body, and my spirit tangibly, and planning it out on the calendar? Because we all know as moms, if it is not in the calendar, guess what? It ain't happening.
Well, Dad, I'm telling you, we are so in. I had no clue that this is. I mean, I had an idea. Now that you're going into the details of it, just soaking up some of your content, I'm like, okay, this is where this begins. This is the real tangible details of how this comes into action. And I love this. That's what we want to do with this podcast. That's our promise to parents. It's like, we'll always give you the big picture. We'll always give you the inspiration, the motivation, the storytelling, the context, and then we're going to get into it. And that's where we are. We're in the thick of the episode where we're getting into, exactly how this works. And Christina too. And Dr. Our team that's listening right now as we record this, they're probably gonna be like, oh, I bet. Like, Heather doesn't even know she's setting Tony up on a tee right here for the thing I love most. So I am obsessed with the ideal week. And for those out there, Michael Hyatt, another amazing kingdom-driven person, he actually has a really cool planner called a Focus Planner that is there. And so every Sunday, I used to do it at home. I had my space at home where I would literally do that, like reflect. So I'm going to try, because I'm such a list guy, I'm a sequence guy. So I'm trying to bring, just want to double tap on it for everybody listening. First, you got to find that quiet. You got to find that stillness. You just need to take that moment in time. And then after that, once you get there, it's reflection first, right? So it's reflection backwards first, and no judgment, just learning. You're just learning. You're just looking at the week that was and being like, crush that. Got, kicked in the pants with that one. Okay, roadblock, and you make your list. Yeah, you learn it, because that's how you're going to grow forward and get more energy and more productivity and more happiness and more connection to God and more relationship with your family and more health. You got to learn where you're doing great, and you got to learn where you're falling short. And then you double down or 10x down on what's going well, and you clean up what's not. And so reflection, and then you look at the week ahead and you put all the non-negotiables in there. And when you say in there, we literally mean in a schedule, right? That which gets scheduled, gets done. And so I do this on Sundays. You'll get it. And this little hack might work for parents. So we've got kids of all, my kids, 4 different kids are different ages. So Elena, my junior higher now, she loves JHM, junior high ministry. It only goes down at 9. So our church has a 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock service. But I also have 2 teenagers, and we love to do our workout Sundays. Christina is a runner, so she does her long run. So we go to the 11 service. Well, if I'm being honest, we have teenagers. We go to the 11 10 service. That's when we okay.
That sounds like us.
Yeah, we missed a song or two. All right. And so Elena though loves to go to JHM. So what I do is I'll take her there, drop her off, and I go to a coffee shop or one of our offices because it's close by, and I spend a week setting my, and it's spend an hour to get my entire plan for the week dialed in. So I know at all times people look at me like I have two heads and they're like, how do you get, I get this question and I just want to help people with it so bad. It bothers me in a healthy way. How do you get so much done and yet have so much energy and get your workouts in and you're so happy? Like they just seem like it's planned on Sundays.
100%.
And It takes me an hour. It takes 1 hour of doing nothing but planning to not get crushed by my week when the week would definitely, absolutely, positively crush me. And I would miss all my workouts and I'd be running around, like I don't have any hair. So with my beard on fire before that, but it would be a terrible week. And I want the opposite. So I'll shut up after that. But that Sunday planning, that Sunday reset, I had no idea that was like your biggest.
You're doing it. You're doing
that's
it.
That's why we get along so well. It's
that's right.
Okay. So where does now fitness? Let's bring this full circle.
Yeah.
That has been your life. Mm-hmm. That is your life. So when you get into your Sundays, you were talking about, hey, the gym and choosing it because it has daycare. So is that scheduled in? Like, what is kind of the rank? Where does Heather go in that weekly schedule? Like when you're literally building it, do you have a sequence? Do you have a hierarchy or kind of batting order that you use to build your schedule? And where do your time, your workouts come in that sequence?
Yeah, for sure. So essentially, I mean, my team knows that you are not going to catch me. You're not going to schedule me at 8:30 to 9:15 a.m. Okay. That is my workout time. And I am there at that gym, or I really do like to switch it up. I'm either training in my online membership, I'm teaching them a workout, I'm at Burn Boot Camp, or I'm at Pure Barre getting in my movement. And I will say, obviously life happens. So Mama, I want you to hear me when I say this. Life happens. And so if for some reason my kid has an appointment and it has to be at 8:30 because that's when the doctor's available or whatever it is, that's okay, because on Sunday, I'm seeing that up front. I'm not going to be surprised by it on Tuesday morning at the doctor appointment. So I'm saying, okay, that day is a walk day. So I am then putting in at noon for my lunch break or at 5:30 p.m. But again, that takes the communication with your spouse. So I'm going to have to say to Eric, hey, babe, I can't get to the gym at 8:30 on Tuesday. I would really like to be able to, when you get home at 5:30, to go for a walk. If Leighton, our older kid, wants to come with me, he's welcome to. But are you cool with being home at that time so I can go get that movement in? And because he likes the same wife, his answer is usually, yes, babe, you go move that body.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
But then also, to answer your question, on the calendar also is a Bible study that I do with women. It is every other Friday. I actually am really excited to have bumped down to every other week for my women's Bible study because we already do a Wednesday night growth group with our church. And so it's like those times are protected. The women's Bible study on Friday, the Wednesday night as a family at small group, Sunday morning obviously is protected for church, and then those movements. And then other than that, you have to do your own research here. So for me, it's like I really feel my best when I have girl time planned in the calendar. So I'm trying to figure out what one friend can I go to lunch with every other week. And if I don't have one-on-one time with Eric, I'm also not a great human. So I'm like, hey, babe, I want to look at our week. I see that on Tuesday night and Thursday night, you're on call. Wednesday night, we've got small group. On Monday night, is it okay with you if I schedule a babysitter, or would you rather do Friday? Because like, which one are you going to be more present with me? And so it really is that kind of intentionality, to your point, Tony, of like, but if I don't discuss that with him, then how does it get on the calendar and I know he's going to be able to be present with me? And so that Sunday is also then for texting the babysitters and getting them in place. And I also want to be so conscious of saying that I fuel my body well, because mama, so often we grab the goldfish off our kids' plates, or we eat whatever they have left over, or we're not thinking about, oh, you wanted to fast for 24 hours this week or 18 hours this week, but you didn't put it in the calendar. So again, it's not going to happen. So because I'm planning my meals, I know that I'm getting whole food nutrition that then isn't going to give me that energy crash in the afternoon. I'm supplementing well, and I've got it all in my routine because okay. Yep. You got a question.
This is awesome. This is where I wanted to go. And I know we're rounding third base for it. And I know you got to get it. You drive a Mini. Oh, you got a minivan? Or are you rocking an SUV? What you got?
Oh, no, I got an SUV. I'm not a minivan girl.
Game on. I didn't know if when you're coming in that school pickup line, if you're just hitting those two, but put that thing on two wheels, hit those two buttons, both side doors open, just messing with you. Okay. Because I want to go into
Forerunner. I'm a Forerunner girl.
There you go. I want to get into some straight hacks here at the end, just rapid fire. For energy, if you have 30 minutes for your workout and you need some energy, you need some mojo, what is your favorite workout to do it? What gives you energy the most?
I love, if I had 30 minutes, I'd be like, okay, I'm doing 10 minutes of intensive core. I just love core. And then I'm walking.
Cool. All right. What about food? What whole nutrient dense foods are your go-to to boost your energy?
Y'all don't vomit, but I'm a big canned tuna girl because it's easy. It's affordable. You can just throw it in the grocery cart every week and you've got it there. I also love a great protein powder. I'm using Gainful right now. And I also have been doing the Bobby approved Flav City protein powder.
Perfect. That's what's going to be my next question is supplements. So that's your protein powder. I would have we could have been on here for 6 more hours and I wouldn't have guessed canned tuna, but I love it. And as soon as you said it, I was like, yeah, absolutely. Genius, actually. Okay.
Oh, and I'm a Chomps girl. If you're on the go, I love a good Chomps protein stick.
Shout out to Chomps. Crazy story. Got to sneak it in overtime. My college buddy, Rashid, who was not I love you, buddy. If you end up hearing this and listen to this, not a health guy, not a nutrient guy. He owns Chomps. It's insane.
What?
It's a Chicago company. Yeah, him and his business partner started Chomps. And I recently went back with him a couple of years ago, and I was like, dude, what? Huh? No way. We love them. Like, we're one of your best customers. Okay.
So great.
So Chomps are there for energy. Supplements. Do you have a supplement that you notice if you don't take, your energy wanes besides protein?
Well, yes to protein. I'm on a very specific protocol right now. You'll appreciate this from my naturopath and chiropractor. I will tell you, if I don't take my liquid collagen, my joints start creaking. Yeah. Like if I don't take the collagen, it's a problem. It goes downhill fast. And energy. Oh, see, and I'm on so many supplements that I take that I'm like, but if I don't take magnesium, I'm not doing well. Magnesium is important too.
And the only reason I wanted to rapid fire this 3 to 4 list is yours isn't going to be hers and it isn't going to be mine, but it's going to be yours. I'm telling you guys, we're going to, I have a love-hate relationship with the word busy. I don't like it. I have a love-loathe relationship. I don't like to think of myself as busy. I am productive. I am scheduled. I love this episode. We got into the weeds. We recommended a planner. We got into, and by the way, because how many people out there have a podcast that say they're going to help you as parents live a healthier life, and it's all in the clouds. Now the clouds are great, the context, the words, the big pizzazz, but who's going to actually get in the nitty gritty and be like, I got these kids, I got this schedule, I want to serve it, I have this job, I have this company, I have all these things, like how do I fit this in? And when you have all the things, you need to get to be more particular. And that is what takes care of you. The particulars, the details, the communication with your spouse. I love that you brought that in. And then these 4 areas, there's going to be a workout that is your workout. For me, it's CrossFit. For my wife, it's running. There is going to be a food that is your food. You're like, I have that, I'm good. There's going to be a supplement that is your supplement that your body jives with, and this is how we work on it. We don't cookie cutter anything. Everybody is designed by God, and their neurophysiological code is just different. So you're going to have one, Chomps is going to be it for Heather, and it's not going to be it for somebody else. My point being, go home from this episode, slow down right now and be like, oh, I actually know what the answer to those 3 are for me. And are you prepared to have them every time you need them? That's my tactical take-home point. And so I'll close this out with this. I love that you get your triangle is
Tony. Oh my gosh, I forgot to say this. You know what it is? It's salt. I've become such a huge fan of salt. Like just throwing back your Celtic salt multiple times a day, because if you don't know this already, water's great, but you can sometimes just like not get all that you need. What you need is minerals, and you take a pinch of that salt even when I'm fasting, and it gives you this instant zing of energy. And so when you think about like the Bible, how it talks about salt and light, and you get the zing from salt, you're like, that's what he means. It's so cool. God's so cool.
Our whole team, because we have just hard charging moms make up our whole team. You have never seen so many Stanleys and emptied trace mineral and element packets in one place ever. Like I'm actually thinking about, and I have donkeys on the farm. I'm actually thinking about bringing donkeys into the practice just to carry, because donkeys carry things, just to carry all the hydration, salt, Stanleys. So it'll be a Stanley equipped donkey, and my team is going to think some people have like ping pong and kombucha at their place of work. I'm going to get let me carry your 17 hydration options from your car, from your 4Runner to the door for you. And
I love that so much. Yes, please.
That'll be our service. Okay.
Donkey day.
So I know you got to run, and others listening too. I want you to know that the healthiest your nervous system can be. So we live in health when it comes to the nervous system. I mentioned HRV on this podcast today, and I've mentioned it a lot. That's a total Googleable one. Okay. I want you to go home and I want you to actually Google HRV, and I'm going to leave you with this story, and Heather, you're going to love it because you teach people to get to this place. We run HRVs on moms and dads in our practice and kids more than anybody else. And before we run their HRV, which is a measure of stress and tension and exhaustion on their nervous system when it's not a good HRV, or it's a measurement of energy, productivity, mojo, resilience, adaptability. That's what HRV really is. So let's just simplify it. There's bad HRVs and there's good HRVs. I cannot tell you how many moms' HRVs and dads' HRVs we run in our practice, and their nutrition and their fitness is absolutely on point. Most of us would look at it and be like, how do you pull this off? And they tank on HRV because they don't take care of their soul. They do not have that connection, that space, that time to God, to that service. They don't have that. And so they have this internal strife and stress that workouts and nutrition don't fill. And also they're not getting adjusted. And so I'm going to close it that way, because you want to know who has the most unbelievable right in the green is good HRVs? Moms who absolutely, yes, whole food nutrition, supplements, workouts, taking care of their sleep, but those that take care of their mind and their soul. And I'm going to add one more. So going from a triangle, I should have paid attention in geometry. I don't know what comes next. A square, rectangle. That doesn't sound exciting, does it? As we close it down. Yeah, right. Yeah. It's a triangle with 4 levels. Okay. And the nervous system. Y'all, if you're taking this in and you feel like, man, I'm in the weeds, I'm in the particulars, I'm doing all the things, and I still have no energy and I don't have my health, get adjusted, get adjusted, get adjusted. Moms, if you are taking your kids to a chiropractor, but you are literally driving there, sitting in the room while they get on the table, talk to your doctor this afternoon, get on the table, get scanned, get your HRV, add chiropractic to your life, and it will be the catalyst and the cheat code that will take all of these other things. Because when your nervous system is healthy and resilient, you actually have more efficiency, you have more clarity, you have more energy all by itself. So if you've struggled to put all these other things and more in play, chiropractic adjustments are the cheat code that I would start with. And I mean this. Of course, I'm going to say this, right? Well, I do all the other things too, and I love them, but chiropractic is the cheat code that will change your life, mom and dad, and get your energy and get your mojo. So Heather, we are going to put everything in here from My Life Well Loved. I love how you do that. We're going to link up your Instagram. We're going to go live a couple of times together the week of, you don't know this yet, but we're doing it.
Right. I love it.
Yeah. And right around when the podcast comes out. So everybody just go to the show notes, go to Instagram. Heather, I'll let you close this down. I know you got 1 minute before you got to run, but we appreciate you. This was rock star status because you got into the nitty gritty and you served this community with real action steps. I can't say thank you enough.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me, Dr. Tony. And I feel like I can't believe I left out this no-brainer, but that is one of the things that I put in my Sunday reset every week is going to the chiropractor, because you're right. It makes such a huge difference. And I just want to Is it okay if I close out in prayer? Is that okay?
Please.
Okay, awesome. Dear God, I just want to tell you thank you so much for just the incredible blessing that this podcast interview was to me personally. And I just pray, Lord, that you would use it just as powerfully in every single listener's earbuds or in their car. And Lord, you are the ultimate master of an orchestrator of our health, of our bodies, of our minds, of our souls. And if someone's listening to this that doesn't know you, God, I pray that you just move in an inexplicable way in this next 24 hours, Lord, in this next week. Put the people in place that you want them to talk to, Lord. I pray that Dr. Tony and I's impact, it's great what we can talk about with health and the nervous system and, helping out people's kids, Lord. Like, we are so gifted with what you have put on our heart that we get to walk in this calling that you placed on our lives in the online space. But Lord, if we don't ultimately bring glory to your name, it's all for nothing. So God, just take this episode. I pray that you would multiply it. I pray that you would just multiply every effort that Dr. Tony has to reach moms and dads and kids and just help them to truly just come to full health, Lord, the way that you envision for them, so that we can walk out our callings as people who are believers of yours, people who are just hungry for your word and for you to work in our lives, Lord. Every single thing that we have talked about today, we put in your hands. We trust you to get it in the ears of those who need to hear it. And God, I ask that you would help these people that have listened today just to leave encouraged and feeling so incredible about who you have designed them to be. And we ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, buddy.